Hi, this is Patricia Stepler with your Inside Power. We want you to learn to use all the magical powers that you have inside of you to create the life that you truly want. So let's get right into today's topic, which is on prosperity. Now, I have been doing a series on prosperity. In fact, this is the 9th show on prosperity. So you might want to go back and go through some of those previous ones, because it sort of was a sequential thought on prosperity, although we're going to be kind of concluding things today and reminding you of some of the things I've already shared with you. So what I want to talk about today is, how do we keep prosperity on the forefront of our minds? How do we keep that prosperity coming to us? Because you see, it's not an easy thing to do. You know, it sounds very easy. Think prosperous thoughts and things will come to you. Right. But what do you do when something goes wrong? What do you do when you get an unexpected bill? What do you do when, you know, we're talking about prosperity in all areas, but what do you do when you get a health issue that is not what you expected? All those things go into our thought patterns. It's how we react, or rather respond, to those issues that really determine whether you've got a good grasp on how to shift your thinking and get yourself to become the person that you need to be. So let's talk about this. First thing I want to give you is that thoughts become habitual. You see, our thoughts are habitual. So the more we think the same thought over and over again, the more we believe it. I don't know if you've ever heard this or not, but if you tell yourself a lie long enough, you begin to believe it as reality. And that also goes for other people. If they tell you something enough, you see, it's like hypnosis. Hypnosis is just giving a suggestion and you believing it. So how many times are you told something over and over and over again that maybe is not true, but because you hear it so much, you believe it to be true? You see, this is how we create our own reality. So when we have that habitual thought, it keeps being imprinted into our subconscious, into one of our paradigms that we hold in our subconscious mind, and it gets in there and it molds us and makes us into who we are. Okay. So anyone can demonstrate prosperity who becomes in control of their mind. You see, it's a matter of controlling your mind and believing that that prosperity is there. When you put rich ideas of prosperity into action, and you see yourself as being prosperous, even if you are not seeing the financial gain, if you see yourself as being prosperous, you're developing a prosperous mindset. And that's what we need. We need to develop it in our mind before it's going to show up in reality. That's the way it works every single time. So keep in mind, when I talked about Wallace Wattles in the past several, probably every time I've talked about prosperity, he talks about this substance that permeates and penetrates everything. And when you put a thought into that substance, it will take form and shape into what it is that you want. And see, everything you want is already there. It's already been there for you. Do you believe that it's there? So we have this universal substance that's already in the universe. And all we have to do is to reach out and believe it and bring it into our lives. So it takes that form. It takes the form of thoughts and feelings that we have. Did you hear that? Feelings. You see, we have to feel it. We have to believe it to be. We can't just think alone. We have to see ourselves and hear the conversations of what people will say when you've accomplished whatever it is, be it, you know, relationship or health or wealth. What kind of conversations are you going to hear? What kind of compliments will you get from others? So we have to make sure that we get that idea into that form. Now, that substance, when we put our thoughts and feelings and words into it does not know the difference between negative and positive. This is why it's so important, the thoughts you think and the words you say. And when you have one that's not going to serve you well, get rid of it or stop saying it. Okay. So the substance doesn't know just positive. It doesn't know that you just want the good things. It's taking whatever you say. It's taking whatever you think. So this is why if you think, oh, I want to earn $100,000 or I want to earn $1 million. But then you keep thinking of all the reasons why it can't happen, or you start thinking about, I'll never get any money, or I'll never, whatever it is that you're thinking, it will take that into consideration. Or if you say things like, I can't afford this, or I don't have money for that, or, my bank account's empty, or you keep saying things over and over again, it will bring that into your life. So be very, very careful about the things that you're saying and the things that you want. So only think and say the things that you do want. My bank account is overflowing with cash. Money just flows to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I have plenty of money. Or say, I'm going to buy that. Not today. I am going to buy that. And that's how you deal with things that you can't afford. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to take that trip. I have a whole list in my office on a whiteboard of all the vacations my husband and I want to take. We made a list one day of all the places, because for us, travel is the thing that we want to do. And so we made this list, and I kind of put figures with how much I assume each trip might cost. And I think I probably estimated very high, but I want to go on a nice trip, right? And so I can look at that and say, here's how much money I need, and this is what it will take to go on that trip. And now I have a list of what I want. And I think, okay, which trip am I going to go on? Which ones am I going to do this year? Which ones am I going to do next year? And look at it and say, okay, there's my goal. So this is very key. If you are in bondage to poverty, thoughts you cannot hope to express prosperity. So if your mind is in bondage to poverty, you cannot hope to express prosperous conditions. So if we're always thinking poverty and we have that poverty mindset or lack of limitation, how on earth are we going to be prosperous? You see, that's like I said last week, you can't walk in two directions at the same time. You can't look at a coin and see both sides at the same time. So you can't think poverty or be living in that mindset and expect prosperity. It just doesn't work. They're two opposite things. And so you have to get rid of that poverty mindset and look at the prosperity. So if you habitually think opulent thoughts, you will find prosperity on the material plane. So go back to my idea of trips we want to take. And I'm thinking, I'm not thinking of staying in, a cheap motel. I want to stay in a nice place. I'm not going to camp in the woods. I want to stay in a nice quality hotel or take a nice quality cruise, fly in style. So you have to think in that opulence of what you want, not in the poverty or lack thinking. So we suffer for adverse influences and negative behaviors of ours. So every time we have that negative influence, whether it's something somebody says and we get that into our minds or we have that in our thoughts, that keeps us from getting the good that we desire. So we really have to start weeding out friends, because there's a friend there to encourage you or to discourage you. And this may go for family too. I've seen many a person afflicted by what a family member tries to keep them down. And you see this, and it's really sad. You know, sometimes people try to keep you down because they don't want you to look better than them. And if you start moving up and you start acquiring more things, then what excuse do they have? So they try to keep you and pull you back down. So we really have to be very conscious and aware of other people and what their motivation might be, what their true motivation might be. Because people tell you one thing, but that's not really what it is. They may not even realize. So you have to be very careful of that. And we have to realize that we have access to the source. You see, when you connect with that source energy, when you connect with God, when you connect with that higher power that you believe in, it's there wanting you to succeed. It wants you to be successful, because when you're successful, then you can be grateful and give gratitude and show other people. So it's desiring for you to have success. So when you change unwanted conditions, you change that by changing your attitude towards it and by changing your consciousness. It's all about consciousness. But you have to start changing your thought patterns. You have to start changing what you're thinking. Now, what does Wallace D. Wallace said? That's the hardest thing in the world for people to do, which is why so few people do it. This is why we have a small fraction of people that are truly highly successful, because most people won't change their thinking, or they can't focus on it long enough, or they switch from one thing to another. Oh, that didn't work. Let me go over here. And it's like the new idea of the day or the new idea of the week club. And so they keep switching. And when you keep switching, you just add all that confusion. So what you want to do is to get a goal that maybe you can do for 90 days. When I work with my clients, we talk about setting 90-day goals. What can we do in the next 90 days? And set a goal and keep it there. Now, what happens? You get the 90 days and maybe you didn't reach that goal. Reset it. Reevaluate what happened. Was it because you were going beyond where you could really possibly get to in 90 days? Was it because you didn't do the work or you didn't know what to do? You know, reevaluate. Sometimes, this is when it gets really exciting, you set that goal for 90 days and you achieved it in 30. You say, oh, that can't happen. You know, my son did that once. He set a goal. He was playing ninth grade football and he was a receiver, and he decided he wanted to get 12 touchdowns in that season. I think they have 9 games or something at middle school. And well, by the end of the second or third week, he was nearly there. So he had to reset the goal. He was going to get it too soon. So then he set a bigger goal. And so we have to realize that our thought patterns are really important. And sometimes we get goals too soon, and then we have to maybe reset and stretch ourselves a little bit more. Other times, maybe we don't get them because we overestimated what it was going to take to get there. Or, you know, we had to learn something we didn't realize we had to learn. And so then we have to reset the goal. So they have to keep that in mind. But our thought must be on abundance. You got to keep it on what it's going to look like. You know, maybe you have a room in your house that is not the way you want it, and you want to remodel it. Get that vision. Every time you walk in a room, see it remodeled. Just keep seeing it remodeled and just keep seeing it remodeled. Eventually, you will figure it out. That's what we did to our house a number of years ago. When we moved into the house we're living in, my husband promised me we could put this addition on to make the house the way I really wanted it, because we couldn't quite find the house that we wanted. And, you know, things went by, didn't happen. Then we needed a new roof. And it was like, okay, it's now or never. Either we put this addition on now and we need a roof, or we forget it. And so, you know what happened? My husband drew out the picture. He designed how the house was going to look. I just decided how my kitchen was going to look. I researched everything I wanted in that new kitchen, and everything I wanted in the additional closet and bathroom and family room that we put on the house. And you know what? We figured it out. We figured out how to get the things we wanted. What if we'd have done it 10 years prior? We'd had 10 more years to enjoy it. But you see, that's the way it works. You get so focused on it that you finally figure out how to make it happen. And that's the way goals are. That's why you have to become almost possessed by them until they possess you. And that's what really happens. You keep focused on it. You keep working towards it. You keep thinking of that prosperity that you want, that good health that you want, that better relationship you want. And you keep thinking about it. And all of a sudden it happens. And then you think, did I cause that? Or is that just luck? No, not luck. You caused it. You caused it. And then you get there and you're like, wow, this is really pretty awesome. So whatever you think in your subconscious mind will always be pictured in your experience. And sometimes it can shock you. Not too long ago, I was looking for a better relationship with a person, and I kept thinking of it and thinking of it and thinking of it. And all of a sudden it happened. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. And I kept thinking, but this is what you wanted. But it felt really strange because I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. So our thoughts of abundance are going to act like magnets. They're going to attract everything that we need into our lives. So make sure that you're thinking the right thoughts. Okay, you've got to keep that thought pattern going. So we see abundance everywhere and in everything. And next thing, we see abundance everywhere and in everything. That's what you have to do. Every time you look at something, see the abundance, see what you want to see. Maybe that's not what you're seeing in front of you. So forget what you're actually seeing. Quit seeing with your eyes and start seeing with your mind. See what you want to see. So build that opulent and prosperous conditions in your life, everything you do. So maybe a bill comes in, you say, wow, isn't this going to be exciting? This is now a paycheck coming to me, and start seeing it as a paycheck coming. Maybe add an extra zero to it and see it as money coming towards you instead of money you have to pay. When you pay a bill, be grateful. I'm so grateful to have electricity. I'm so grateful, everything. Another thing I would suggest, do as much as you can on auto pay so that you forget it. And the money comes and goes and you're not dwelling on it. Okay, it's another good idea to do. So force your mind upon the idea until it forms in your consciousness. Force your idea upon that, force your mind thinking it, thinking the opulence, thinking the money you want, thinking the clients you want, thinking the job you want, thinking the relationship you want, thinking the health you want. Keep thinking what you want. And allow your mind to form around that until it becomes so much a part of you that you just start moving towards it. Now, is that going to happen if you do it for a day or two? No. Do it day after day after day until you feel like it's going to happen, that it has to happen. And then you can't stop it. That's when you know that you're on the right track. But if you keep going from one day saying, oh, this is going to happen, the next day saying, oh, it's never going to happen, and you're just adding all that confusion in your life. So you have to start seeing it and believing it and being so convinced so that your mind can be convinced. So too often what we do is we fluctuate between higher and lower potentials. And we do this all the time. We'll say, yeah, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, yes, yes. And then the next minute we'll say, well, this is never going to happen. And we fluctuate back and forth. You got to stay fixed on that idea until it becomes fixed in you. And I've said that multiple ways. So picture the desire, and it must be clear and dynamic and exciting to you to penetrate into your mind. So get that idea. This is why meditating is so good. Sit down, maybe draw a picture, trace around that picture, and then sit there and think about it and think of what people are going to say to you when you've gotten it. Maybe it's that new house. What if you got a new house that you've been dreaming of and you'd been meditating on it? What kind of conversations would people say when they come in that house? Are they going to say, oh my gosh, look at your house. It's so beautiful. Wow, how did you ever figure out how to accomplish this? Or we're so proud of you that you were able to get this house and all that you must have done to be able to have the money in order to accomplish. Get those conversations going and just sit there and think about it and hear those voices. Maybe hearing your children excited about their new bedroom, or maybe hearing them, maybe they're older and they're just so proud of you that you were able to finally get your dream house. But whatever, just hear those conversations. Maybe your parents telling you how excited they are for you that you have that new house. My son just recently got a new position, which he'll be moving into in a couple months. And I'm just so excited for him. And he'll text me and tell me something that just happened. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for you. And did he hear those voices before? Did he hear my excitement before he actually told me? You see, that's what we need to do. We need to hear those conversations. We need to have those people in our lives telling us how proud they are of us or how excited they are. And then keep forming that. And that gets into your emotions. Why does it have to get into your emotions? Because you have to feel it. It's not good enough to say it. You have to feel it. This is where some people do affirmations and they just repeat. It has no emotion behind it. You have to get emotional. You have to be excited about where you're going. You can't just blase say something. You've got to get it into your emotions. Why? Because your subconscious is what they call the heart. The heart is supposed to have feelings. But if it's all stuck in your head, there's no feelings there. So you have to get emotional. You have to get a little excited. You have to get maybe a little angry, but you have to get emotional about it. Think of that desire as many times as you can during the day. Think of it emotionally. Think of what it's going to feel like when you earn the money that you want to earn instead of what you're earning now. What's it going to do for your life? How is that going to make you excited? You see, when I look at my goal and I think of the amount of money that I want to earn next year, it makes me excited because I know it's possible. I know that it is possible to do, and it's very exciting. Why? Because it's going to allow me to take those vacations I'm hanging on my whiteboard. It's going to allow me to think of those places we can go and which ones we can do next year. It's going to allow me to take my children with me on a couple of those vacations so we can all be together as a family. You see, you have to look at what's going to happen when you reach that goal. It has to be exciting. If it's not exciting, you'll never do it. This is why so many businesses have goals that don't work, because they're not exciting to the people. Maybe they don't understand why that's the goal. Tell them what it will do for them. Get people excited about where they're going. That's the difference between saying something and actually accomplishing something. It's the emotion that you have. Do you think when a team goes out there to play a ball game, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, soccer, and it's a championship game, do they go out like they're don't want to be there? Or do they go out like they're with excitement because they know what it's going to be like when they win? And so often it's that team that has that spirit of winning that puts them above the team that didn't win. How much do you want it? That's what you have to look at. How much do you want it? Keep that picture of the desire before you as many hours a day as you can. Maybe you need to set a timer. Every hour, I'm going to think of that. And I'm going to think of it with emotion. And I'm going to be excited about it. How much quicker do you think you'd get to your goal if you did that? So you have to keep thinking, keep it active in your conscious and your subconscious mind. And we've talked about the subconscious mind probably back in maybe the second or third lesson that I did. But you have to convince yourself that what you have, you are feeling it, and it's already here. You already have it. How do you need to be? So let's pretend you're going to earn $500,000 next year. It's a done deal. You know, without a shadow of doubt, next year, at the end of the year, you will have $500,000 that you've accumulated throughout that year. Now, tell me, how would that make you feel? What things would you do differently if you knew at the end of next year you're going to have $500,000? What kind of emotion would you have today if you knew that was going to be the outcome? So why can't it be? Why can't you have that kind of money at the end of next year? Why can't you be that prosperous? You see, I think you can. I believe you can. You just have to believe it. You have to get out of your own way, get out of your own comfort zone, and get out of the feeling that you can't do it. So what do you see as prosperity? What does prosperity look like to you? Set a figure that you really want to have. What does that look like to you? How does that make you feel? What kind of things are you doing? It's not about stacking money up. That's not going to do it. It's about what can you do with the money? Maybe you have some cause that you just really believe in and you've always wanted to give more to it, but you couldn't. But now you can, because you can build that in your imagination. You can see yourself writing out this check to that charity that you really want to support. Could even write a check. Doesn't mean you have to send it. You can date it and write it and put it aside for when you have that money. See, prosperity is a state of being. That's all it is. It's a state of being. Lack and limitation, it's a state of being. Poverty, it's a state of being. Being on welfare, it's a state of being. Being middle class is a state of being. It's a choice. It's a choice we make because we don't realize that it's a state of being. That's all it is. So if it's a state of being, which state do you want to be in, poverty or prosperity? How would you feel and act right now if you had everything you wanted? That's what you need to think about. See yourself acting in the way that you would if you had everything. It starts with an idea. And I'm going to conclude with this. If you think limiting conditions, you delay the power that can come to you. So stop it. Start thinking opulence and prosperity. Stop thinking limiting conditions. You're stopping that inside power that you have to accomplish your dream. This is Patricia Stepler. I want you to be the magic.